In this video, we're going to build a random tips generator. And what I mean by that is we're going to have a full stack app where the backend reads from the file system our random tips. They're going to be separate JSON files, and I'll explain why later on. And it's going to be read via the NextJS front end, which is React, and it's going to be displayed on the page. So each time you refresh the page, it's going to pick a new tip to be displayed. And we can easily add tips to the data folder, and people can contribute quite easily to that on your repo as well. And you can do this for open source tips, JavaScript tips, TypeScript tips, Python, like there's so many options. That's why I think this app can be really interesting for you. And you can even build it in your own framework, library, technology stack. You get the idea. Before we get started, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe below. And I want to keep this really real for you. I haven't prepared anything. Let's see how it goes. I might make some mistakes. And if I do, let me know in the comments below how I can improve this, and we'll collaborate and work together. And while you're down there, obviously subscribe so you can find out more about open source, freelancing, digital nomad, all that great stuff. Right, back to this video. So let's create the project, and I want to use the npx create next app, and we're going to choose the latest, and we shall call this something very clever, random tips. So it's creating the app for us. Let's give it a moment. Now it's been created, it gives us the instructions. Let's navigate into the random tips directory and let's open VS Code, good place to start. You've seen my videos before where we have a pages folder, and then we have our front end part, and the back end is in the API folder, and NextJS takes care of all the routing, which is epic. If you'd like me to deep dive into NextJS, do let me know. I'm still learning all the time, and I'd love to learn with all of you as well. So let's start the app. A really good place to start is to start the app. So we can do that with npm run dev. npm install, all that sort of stuff has been taken care of when we created the app. So you don't have to worry about that. Obviously, if you're cloning the project, and you will not be creating the app because the app will already be created, you will need to run npm install. So now that's running on port 3000 localhost. Let's refresh our Chrome, and we've got the standard default app. Let's delete a lot of the content that we don't need. I will keep the title, and let's delete everything else. And we can say powered by open source and remove the rest of the anchor tag that we don't need. If I hit save, you can see we've got this. So we should probably change that actual writing there and say, welcome to random tips. Hit save. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we need a tip on the to be displayed on the front. So should we start with the back end or front end? Every project, I do it differently depending on the complexity. I like to start off with the complexity first, but I know you're all quite visual. So maybe let's start off with the front end on this one, and let's just get some content displayed, and we can replace it with the API call that we make to the back end that we will also create from scratch too. So let's have a look. So we can do this in various ways. So I could just kind of fake it for now and say, I don't know, tip, so constant tip. And then this will be an object, say, and it could have a title and an author, or content and an author. Let's see, let's do title, and then we will say, description, Copilot is, this is a example tip. And I think it's good to maybe have the author as well. And the author in this case could be me. So we'll do it as the GitHub username potentially, so we can go get the person's profile picture and those sorts of things quite easily from GitHub. Oh, I'm missing a comma there. I told you this is going to be a real and authentic video. So here we can display this. We can use a framework like Bootstrap, Material Design, Prime React to customize it, and we can add that if you want. Let me know. This isn't live, so I can't see it in the chat, but let's see how we got on with time. So let me have a look. Let's just display it at the moment on the page, quite raw, and then we can probably use a card from somewhere to make it look a lot nicer. So we could start off with maybe a H2, and then with the H2, we will say tip.title, and then underneath we'll probably want maybe the description and author. So we could have it, so thank you so much Copilot, so tip description. And then I do want the author as well, so we can just put that as a paragraph tag as well, and we can change it later. So I'll just hit save. And what I like about using a framework like NextJS, it has all the linting or configuration all set up. I don't have to worry about all of that. So let's have a look. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Not very pretty, but let's get the information through, and then we can increase the fidelity of the app as well. Obviously, I want to leave stuff for you too as well. So now we've got that kind of working, and I am toying with the idea, do I add a UI framework framework, but we can worry about later on. We do have an API. So the way it works in NextJS, you could go to / so after the 3000, / API hello, and we can test that now for you. So if I open a new tab, API / hello, and we'll change that. It prints out the JSON that is in that file. Let's rename that file and let's call it tip. And so we've got the tip, and we can actually just hard code what we had in the front end. So I really like connecting the front end and back end together. I find it really important. Let's copy this object and let's just paste it in here as well. So we hit save, and now nothing's gonna change on the front end. So if I say this is an example tip 2, the front end is not gonna change. Refresh it, it's not gonna change. We haven't connected it together yet. But if I go to the back end and hit refresh, oh, we did rename it from hello, mustn't forget that. So it's API / tip, not S, tip. And then we've got the tip that we just created. It's got the 2 on the end. So now we need to get this onto the front end. That actually can do it in 2 different ways. We could make a fetch request that is happening after the page is loaded, therefore you might need to put in some placeholders and so forth, or we can do it blocking, so the page won't load until it's got the data and therefore the page displays in one go. Maybe we'll do that for this one. And the way we do it, that it loads the data before the page loads, is with get server-side props. So we'll export an async function, get server-side props. Copilot always saving the day. And what we can do here is, wow, Copilot is really jumping in there with the answers. And I think it's pretty close, because what we'll want to do is make a fetch, as you can see, different URL. And then we'll want to get the JSON from that fetch, and then we want to return it as a prop. And then we want to update the home component that it gets the prop injected into the component as well. So I want to hit tab and accept that, but we're just going to change this now and do HTTP localhost 3000, completed it for us, thank you so much. And then we're going to change this description. We will just say it's going to be the tip. So we can, if we change that to tip, and then we could actually just put this in here and say tip. And then in the home, we want to get that data out, and we'll also say tip, so come into that component. And then we can actually now change this, so we can remove this constant that we made and actually read the data out. So let's save it, and now when I do save it, we're expecting this to say 2 at the end because it'll be reading it from the API. And we'll change it to 3 to prove it to you as well. So hit save, let's go have a look. We have an error. That's fine, errors do happen. So cannot read property, undefined reading title. So it's the first one that we're reading, so that's where it breaks. And it's important to read the error. And if you do ask for help on Discord, Stack Overflow, GitHub, wherever it is, read the error and just check that you haven't missed something. And also, if you haven't missed something and you still need help, definitely ask, but include the error. Not half the error message, the whole error message. Bonus tip for you there. Come to this page and you can see now it's saying tip 2. So let me prove it to you. If we go back to the API and I say tip 3 and hit save, and if we go to the API, it's changed to a 3. If we go to the front end, it now says 3 as well. Okay, so we've got data coming from the back end all the way to the front end. It is still hard coded in the back end. It's not reading it from the file system that I want individual JSON files so people can contribute them without having conflicts with other people. And we will read the file system for those tips and pick one at random. So we're gonna get onto that. So maybe we do that next. So instead of the hard coded one, I mean, we could make a constant and just have a collection of tips. But the downside of that is everyone's gonna be changing that one single file and you're gonna get a lot of conflicts. And if you're gonna do that, why do you do the back end? You could just do that completely in the front end. So next thing we wanna do is let's read the file system. Actually, next thing we wanna do is actually create some data. So let's create a folder called data. And in that folder, let's create some files. So we could say, let's think of some tips. What tips have you got for people? Could be anything. Let's focus mine on kind of open source and GitHub for now. So we can have a look about pull requests. So pull request tip, and it's gonna be JSON. And in this tip, we know the structure, it's gonna be effectively this object. So I can paste that in, but obviously we're gonna change it. I need to wrap these in quotes because we're coming from JavaScript. And then the tip title is not gonna be tip, it's gonna be keep pull requests, or just pull request. And then the description is gonna be keep pull requests small, and the author is going to be me. So I'm going to hit save. Let me do a couple more, so therefore we can get some randomness going on. Otherwise, if I keep displaying 1, then you're going to think, Eddie, it's not random. So let's create a few more. So in this one, we've got pull request, let's say issue. And then in the issue one, we will want to say issue, and the description could be always create an issue before a pull request. Save. And then on this other one, what other issues can we have? GitHub Actions, or CI, we can keep it generic. So we can say continuous integration, use CI to run your automated tasks like linting. Okay, save. So we've got 3 now in that directory. So what we want to do next is read the file. So we will need to import the file system. So I want to import the file system from the file system, and then also import path from path. There you go. These are from the Node kind of core available packages, I think it's the right word. Again, you can correct me below in the comments. And while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up, of course. Let's create a constant and let's call it files. And then we're gonna want to use the file system and it's gonna read, already completing it for us. However, I'm not gonna join the paths. Another way it can be done, which I prefer, is path resolve. And then we're gonna pass it in data. And we're also gonna pass in, it's just one directory. It's not nested one. So we can just say data. So now we've got that, we should get a list of files. So what I suggest is we log the files out to check that it all works. So if I hit save, refresh the front end page, go to the console, and you can see we've got ci.json, issue.json, pull request.json, which is what we created over here in our data folder. So this is looking good. So next up, we want to loop over those, but actually we probably don't. What we want to do is pick one at random and then read the contents of that file. Copilot's already completing it for us. So constant tip, and then it's going to be the list of files, and then we're going to pick one at random, and it's going to be the length of files. I think +1, no, it will start from 0. So files will start from 0 because it's an array, and the length will be the amount. So maybe -1. Let's think that through. If we've got 3 files, and we want to pick a random number, and we're going to go, I'm going to use, pick a random number, and it's going to be the length of files, so it'll be 3, but then it's going to use floor. So if we don't have to do the -1, that might work out okay. Copilot thought of another way of doing it. I was going to use a -1 just to get it to start from 0, because the length is never going to start from 0. So in fact, we can console log that and have a look, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So hit save, let me clear the console, let's refresh the page, and it said pull request that time. We haven't loaded the contents yet. Let's refresh again, and it said CI. Let's refresh again, and it said pull request, which is, it's still random, it's looking good. So I'm quite happy with that so far. Next, we want to read the content. So if we say file and we say, okay, tip data, Copilot's writing all my code for me and the videos. Yeah, it's going to use the file system. It's going to use read file sync. We're going to do this synchronously, just like we did with the directory. We're not going to use it asynchronously. If you're reading lots of files, you might want to put that in a promise all so you can kind of read them in a non-blocking way. But in this case, it's fine. We're going to resolve the data directory and the file. And you mustn't forget to use UTF-8 when you're reading the file to make sure it works. And then we can put the contents of the file here, but it's going to be a string. It's not going to be in JSON, so we need to pass it. I've hit save. Then the UI should now automatically update because it was reading the JSON object that was here before, fine. And all we've done is change that in the back end, but the front end doesn't care where we get the data from. It just cares that it gets the data in the right format. So if we hit refresh, it should be a real tip, which it is. Refresh again, it's a real tip again. So straight away, we have made a random tip, not generator, but like selector. I mean, that was pretty quick. How long have we been going for? I'm not wearing a watch, so I actually don't know, but I don't feel it was that long. And from this, you can build anything, right? We're reading the file system, we're querying the API in the front end, and we're displaying it. So now you could quite confidently add more files, maybe even add subdirectories. So under data, maybe have open source JavaScript, like I said before. You could create different tips files for different categories. Then people could maybe filter by the tips that they want to have displayed to them. There are so many options, but I'm gonna leave the imagination to you and let me know what you create. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give this video and subscribe below. It's completely free for you to subscribe and really helps me support my channel. We do have an open source inclusive community and I'd love for you to join. We do chat in Discord every day. So I look forward to seeing you there. There's a link in the description below.